That just came into the newsroom. Police in Las Vegas just announced they've made an arrest into the murder of legendary rap artist Tupac Shakur.
Back in 1998, Dwayne Keith Davis spilled the beans to a cable channel, claiming he was riding shotgun in a car when another passenger fired the shots that ended Tupac Shakur's life. And while he's the man who's been arrested, not everyone believes he's the killer.
20-some years, and never had any problems, but I had no problems with them either. I didn't even know they were there.
But they were there, at least until Keefy D got arrested, sources say, in this Henderson neighborhood. None of the neighbors we spoke with saw or heard anything this time, far different from the scene several weeks ago when they searched his home.
So he can't come 30 years later, and when he gave a testimony regarding that, and say Puff had anything to do with it. That was something. That was all West Coast, bruh.
In 2009, this dude, also known as Keefy D, spilled the beans to the police, admitting his part in the case, according to a former detective who looked into the shooting. But apparently the authorities couldn't immediately use that info. Fast forward to recent times, after what the cops call a re-energized investigation, they nabbed Davis, who's 60 now, in Las Vegas. They slapped him with an indictment in the case, charging him with murder involving a deadly weapon. This all went down about 27 years after the rapper got shot while leaving a boxing match on the Vegas Strip, leading to many theories about what truly happened.
Had to be Death Row. Somebody affiliated with them. Somebody he was around there. Who Pac had problems with? People at Death Row.
The tragic shooting on September 7, 1996, was, as the police say, payback against the 25-year-old star. They claim Davis cooked up and executed the plan within hours, after the rapper and others went after Davis's nephew earlier that same day. So this Davis guy is the lone surviving suspect in the case, according to the police. He's mentioned in a memoir as one of the two living witnesses, with the other being a record label bigwig who was driving Shakur that night. Jason Johansson, a Las Vegas police homicide lieutenant, spilled the tea during a news conference, saying, "Over the last 5 years, we've conducted countless interviews and corroborated numerous facts that were not only consistent with the crime scene on the night of the incident, but also corroborated and were consistent with the sequence of events that night." All right, let's dive into the backstory on Davis, what led up to the shooting, and his indictment and arrest. So, according to the police, Shakur's shooting was linked to a feud between two gangs in Compton, California. Shakur and Marion Suge Knight, who was the big cheese at Death Row Records, were affiliated with the Mob Piru gang in Compton. On the flip side, Davis was part of the South Side Compton Crips. When Shakur was in Las Vegas to catch a Mike Tyson boxing match at the MGM Grand Hotel, Davis and his nephew Orlando Anderson were also in the mix. After the match, the Death Row Records crew spotted Anderson near an elevator bank inside the hotel, and things got ugly, as shown in hotel surveillance footage. Shakur and Knight were right there among the group giving Anderson a beatdown. After this brawl, both crews left the hotel. Shakur and his posse headed to a post-fight party at a nightclub. That's when Davis got wind of the attack on his nephew and started plotting revenge against Suge Knight and Shakur. Johansson spilled the beans, saying Davis got a gun from a close associate and hopped into a white Cadillac with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Anderson. While in the car, Davis passed the gun to the passengers in the rear seat of the vehicle. The group eventually tracked down the car Shakur and Knight were in, pulled up alongside their black BMW, and shots were fired from the Cadillac into the BMW, hitting Shakur 4 times, according to the authorities. The rapper tragically passed away 6 days later. Johansson stated, Dwayne Davis was the shot caller for this group of individuals that committed this crime. He orchestrated the plan that was carried out to commit this crime. Anderson and Smith were also in the back of the Cadillac, according to Davis's indictment, but it doesn't specify who pulled the trigger. Anderson denied involvement in the killing before his death in a gang-related shooting in 1998. As for Knight, he's serving time in prison on a manslaughter charge unrelated to this case. Davis put himself in the middle of the crime scene during a 1998 interview with BET, revealing he was in the front seat of the car from which the fatal shots were fired. When asked who pulled the trigger, Davis responded with, "Going to keep it for the code of the streets. It just came from the back seat, bro," as reported in the interview. Fast forward more than a decade later, Davis spilled the beans to the police about his involvement in the shooting in 2009, according to Greg Kading, a former police detective who worked on the case. However, this admission couldn't be used as evidence due to a proffer agreement, explained Kading to CNN on Friday. A proffer agreement is a deal in which a suspect agrees to provide potentially valuable information in an investigation, but the statements made typically can't be used as evidence against the suspect. Furthermore, in a memoir authored by Davis, a copy of which was confiscated during a police search of his wife's Nevada home in July, he described himself and Knight as the sole living witnesses to Shakur's shooting. During this search, the police seized various items, including tablets, an iPhone, computers, USB and hard drives, photographs, and a copy of a magazine issue about Shakur. The case from decades ago came back into the spotlight in 2018, especially because Davis was openly discussing it and fresh information came to light, according to officials. Davis's own admissions regarding his involvement in this homicide investigation, which he shared with various media outlets, helped reignite the investigation, mentioned Johansson during a statement on Friday. Davis took part in a Netflix documentary on the Shakur case in 2018 and released his memoir in 2019. He began to go out publicly boast about his involvement in the murder, and that led to law enforcement in Las Vegas taking another look at his claims, and ultimately he's talked himself right into jail, Kading, the former detective, told CNN. In 2011, a report by LA Weekly revealed that Davis had told investigators about an alleged $1 million offer from Diddy to kill Shakur and Suge Knight, who was driving the BMW during the fatal shooting. At the time, Diddy dismissed Davis's story as pure fiction and completely ridiculous. A representative for Diddy declined to comment on Friday. Tupac Shakur's sister, Sekiwa Set Shakur, and close friend Jada Pinkett Smith are speaking up following the recent arrest of Dwayne "Kefe D. Davis in connection to the 1996 drive-by shooting of the iconic rapper. Sekiwa Shakur, who serves as the president of the Tupac Shakur Foundation, took to Instagram expressing, "This is no doubt a pivotal moment. The silence of the past 27 years surrounding this case has spoken loudly in our community. It's important to me that the world, the country, the justice system, and our people acknowledge the gravity of the passing of this man, my brother, my mother's son, my father's son. His life and death matters and should not go unsolved or unrecognized. So yes, today is a victory. But I will reserve judgment until all the facts and legal proceedings are complete." She emphasized, "There have been multiple hands involved, and there remains so much surrounding the life and death of my brother Tupac and our Shakur family overall. We are seeking real justice on all fronts." Pinkett Smith, who befriended Tupac in high school, shared her thoughts on the situation on her Instagram story, writing, "Now I hope we can get some answers and have some closure. R.I.P. Pac." For years, Shakur's family, fans, and members of the Black community had been doubtful of the investigation, wondering why it seemed to lose momentum year after year despite the intense attention. "It's a story that has captivated people for a generation now," explained Jeffrey Ogbar, a professor of history at the University of Connecticut and author of Hip Hop Revolution, The Culture and Politics of Rap. "Better late than never," he commented regarding the recent arrest, "but there is a concern that the people who've been most central to the murder will have escaped justice." After the shooting, another narrative emerged, suggesting that Shakur was a casualty of the East Coast-West Coast rap feud involving Brooklyn rapper Christopher Wallace, known as Biggie Smalls, and the notorious Big speculation intensified 6 months after Shakur's death when Biggie was targeted in a drive-by in Los Angeles after the Soul Train Awards. He tragically passed away in the hospital. While some investigators pointed fingers at Knight, alleging his involvement in a hit against Biggie, he consistently denied any connection to Biggie's death, which remains unsolved. There's an unproven conspiracy theory regarding Shakur's killing, suggesting Knight might have wished for his demise. On the flip side, some have even floated the notion that perhaps Shakur's death was staged and he might still be alive, but that seems incredibly unlikely considering the reactions of those who were closest to him. That's all for the video, folks. Thanks for watching.